was thinking. Because, like, I mean...
A lot of these kids need to not pigeonhole themselves.
Oh, yeah. And he's a kid that's kind of, like, shut out pitching as an idea, but I think, like, if we still worked with him, we can get good pitching out of him. He's got a great breaking ball that catches a lot of kids. Yeah, Josh. And when you see him throw it, and he can throw it for a strike consistently, that's why he would need lessons to, like, know what he can do. We've seen what he can do. Now just make it more consistent.
Yeah.
Oh, you kidding me? You want to talk about a kid who might not be necessary, and he does lead by what he does, but you want to talk about a kid that leads vocally. He's one of the smallest kids on the team, and yet he's one of the biggest personalities, and he's really good at rounding the group up and, like, really getting them to dive in, whether it be a practice.
Romby was this year, too.
That was surprising. Yeah, Romby got a lot more vocal, too. So that was those two boys on that team, from what I saw when we were doing scrimmages and practices together, those guys leading it was
So, John.
Let's do it. That was a long prelude.
Yeah. I told you it just goes.
It just goes.
Welcome back to the Complete Athlete Podcast, where we get players to the next level of their sport and in life. That sport being baseball. We got John Carlson on here today. Super excited to have him.
I'm excited.
He is your coach that will motivate you to go through a brick wall. Let's just say that.
I try. That's it's something I strive to be, but knowing that you guys see it, it's rewarding for me.
And you're good at it, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll get more into the details.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Goodness,
yes.
Cricky. Cricky's on BBC 5. Yep. John's over at 6, and Cricky's
if I'm anywhere near a half mile from you, I'm there. You don't need no radar.
You're not even shouting, you're just talking.
Boom voice. That's why I'm worried. I'm not holding the microphone too close, am I?
So right, John, cool.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background as a baseball player, kind of like how you grew up through the ranks. Just kind of give us a overview.
So I am one of 3 boys in my family, and I actually have a twin brother. So you want to talk about starting a competitive mentality at a young age? Doesn't get much better when you have a twin, let alone a twin brother. And I'm right. No, I'm right. I'm better than you. Like, just like as we were toddlers, we were probably doing competitions,
Yeah, you were. I saw it when I played with your brother.
Yeah, so for people who doesn't know, Gabe played with my brother, so our families have known each other for a long time. And
let's say John and his brother were playing catch on the side of the field when they were like 2, it seems.
Probably. And playing
at our games.
Yeah, and then playing with Will there.
Oh, yeah.
Loved it. But then, like, just baseball, like, I got introduced to baseball before, like, T-ball and stuff, as you kind of said there. Like, we were playing competitive baseball with the kids in the neighborhood in our backyard. We had a tennis ball or a wiffle ball, whatever it be. We had bases set up and everything. And we had some rules, and it would be like a regular, couple of days a week we were meeting there. And it was me and Eric were always younger. We were playing with guys 3, 4, 5 years older than us, right? Because it was all Ryan's friends, your friends. And so also adding to a competitiveness when you're that much younger than the kids that you're playing with, like, if you're just going to be intimidated, they're going to eat that up, right? So you got to learn to be a little bit of fight back, being competitive. So that's probably where the fire of baseball for sure came. And then, I got into T-ball, coach pitch right away, played all the way through up. One big regret is I actually played, like, in-house my whole life. I never got the chance to be, like, traveling guy. I never played fall ball because I was playing other sports, which we can get into, maybe the importance of playing other sports as well, so you're not just, we can talk about that in a little bit. And then I actually had the opportunity, I was at a basketball game at Spring Lake Park, ran to Coach Mason. And Coach Mason, I think he kind of thought I was older than I was. He's like, "You coming out for the high school baseball team this year?" Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And he goes, I know. And I'm like, dude, I'm a 7th grader. And he goes, "Why does that matter?"
Why does that
I go,
matter?
"Huh?" And then that was like, that night I was like, maybe I can play. And Spring Lake Park hasn't had the strongest program, and that's trying to get better, and it is getting better. They're doing some good things over there, I think. But just getting, and then I showed up for captain's practices and stuff like that. And you want to talk about another, like, kind of lighting a fire under your butt. Like, I'm with 18, 17-year-olds, and they're not just going to let you easy, right? They're going to give it to you. And so that, and then I was fortunate enough after tryouts and everything, it was me, my twin brother, and then we had another kid, his name's Carl Jacobson. It was 3 7th graders on the 9th grade team. And, we didn't get much playing time, but when we played, we made the most of it. And then, 8th grader, I was on the sophomore team.
Do you think that was a good thing that you played up to 9th grade when you were in 7th grade so early?
I think it had good things and bad things because I was playing above my grade level. So it was a lot of competition. It was faster pitching. It was faster everything, right? So getting to see that was kind of a wake-up call for me. But also, like I told you, when I was in 7th grade and I was on the 9th grade team, I didn't get a ton of playing time. So I actually still played like in-house, so I was on 2 teams. And so that was...
Where'd you play in-house at?
I played like Babe Ruth League in Blaine and stuff like that.
They still had those.
Yeah, they still had that then.
Okay.
And that league, I would just dominate. It wouldn't be a challenge for me. In fact,
I think that's similar to like the league, the North Star League that Hayden plays in. Yeah.
Dude, like not to brag it, but like it wasn't a challenge for me. In fact, when we didn't have a game and other teams had a game and needed kids because they were worried, they'd call my dad to see if Eric or I could play.
Yeah.
And it was just because...
How many teams were in the league?
There was
3 or 4?
3 or 4 or 5, and then we'd go play like Soderville or we'd go play Coon Rapids, stuff like that. And like they would ask us to play on their teams. And so so when I wasn't getting my playing time the 9th grade level at that time. When I did play, like I said, I made the most of it, but I wasn't too worried, or I didn't get too down because I had this other league that I played a lot.
Yeah.
So then I was in 8th grade. I played on the sophomore team for DJ Downs, Coach Downs.
Coach Downs was my 9th grade coach.
DJ Downs, baby. I hope he sees this. And then as a freshman, I was playing JV, and then even as a freshman, I got to suit up for varsity on sections, and then sophomore year up, I was in some capacity, if not the full season, playing varsity, which was a lot. And that was typically just pitching because, I had a little bit of a live arm, a little bit of a better breaking ball than kids my age, but I didn't get to hit. So talking about Cricky with hitting, we just got done talking about that. I didn't hit. And you talk about how hitting is such a, get into a rhythm. You need a lot of reps and stuff. I just wasn't hitting. And so I actually saw my hitting quality go down a lot in those couple of years. I still was a good at bat. I'd work my walks. I'd try to be competitive, move guys over, but average was never really there. Yeah. Which is a funny story. When I finally got to hit junior year, senior year, I actually had a good start to the season. Our coach brought out our stats and stuff, and I was near one of the tops for batting average, and I kind of was at practice, jokingly being a little cocky and whatever, yeah, I'm up there. And then I think I just dogged the rest of the season. So you better believe the guys got after me after that.
I bet they did.
And so I just stuck to pitching. I was stay in your lane, man. You know what you're good at. This is what you're going to do. And then so when senior year came around, I pitched a lot. I played first base. And then I was coming into college stuff. I was kind of late behind the game. So I got into that.
When did you start looking?
I was late. Seriously.
When? Do you know the months?
Maybe in the fall of my senior year, not even spring of junior year or anything.
Okay.
Fall,
I was
winter.
Similar with that.
And what's
not,
that?
Probably even later.
What's that recruiting? What's that recruiting?
There's a bunch of them.
The
NCSA.
NCSA. Thank you. So I got in the NCSA, and so allowed coaches to look at me, and I got some videos on there. And then I was talking. One school that reached out to me, and then I got real talks with was Luther down in Decorah, Iowa. Good NAIA program, stuff like that. So I actually went down, met with them. That was my first college recruiting visit. It's what I really got into. So I was wow, I was a little unprepared, wasn't really sure. Yeah. But I met with the coaches. It was a great talk. I got to see a practice, stuff like that. Beautiful area down in Decorah that they have. And so I was I didn't really fully commit because I was late, so a lot of them, they already had their recruitment sheet full. So it's we'll give you a walk-on, right? So I essentially had a walk-on offer. And then January of my senior year, I got talking with Coach O'Lean over at St. Thomas, and went into a recruiting visit, was more aware of it now, so I kind of know how to help myself. But I got one-on-one conversations with him. It was great. Went and saw practices and stuff like that. Same thing. It's hey, sheet's full, man, but we'd love to have you try out in the fall if you plan on coming here. And so I made the choice to go to St. Thomas. And I stuck out with fall ball and stuff like that, but it was a hard lesson, being or a hard experience being a kid that wasn't recruited versus all these kids that they put the time in recruiting, once you recruit your guys, you plan on them to play. So I was a kid that was just a new kid on the block, just trying to make it with these guys that were recruiting. And I went on for a while, and it was successful. But then another thing that I had playing against me is my freshman year is when St. Thomas made the announcement that they're moving up to D1. Well, guess who wasn't recruited for D1, let alone barely recruited for D3. So unfortunate events there. That's kind of where my competitive, college career ended, was, in that fall ball area. And it was a great experience to just see a little bit of that college, like that next level.
Yeah.
And just seeing, I was unfortunate because I played other sports. I didn't get like the one-on-one training. I wasn't with like complete athlete,
Complete athlete wasn't around then, man.
Complete athlete. I meant complete game, but a complete athlete like scenario, where you got one-on-ones, you got a coach who like, this is what they do. They're dedicated to like get kids better, get ready kids for college. Never had that. So when I was
because you played baseball and
I played football.
Else? Okay.
I played basketball for a short time. I was done with that, I believe, after like 7th grade or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And I was weightlifting all the time. So when it was in the off season between football and baseball, I was doing like competitive weightlifting and stuff like that.
Okay.
Oh, Cricky out. Drop the mic. He's got to go.
All right.
Cricky out. Cricky, was a pleasure. We'll see you soon.
Oh yeah.
But getting back to it, so yeah, I never played like fall ball. I played summer ball and spring ball, obviously.
Yep.
But just going back to Spring Lake Park, they were kind of behind the 8 ball when it comes to like training development off season type stuff. And so when I got to college ball, that was the first time I ever did like weighted ball training, drive line, was actually like doing workouts specifically for pitching, doing our workouts and then also when the days I didn't pitch, it wasn't your day off. You had other things you had to do. You had to do long toss, you had certain workouts like running, doing pulls and stuff like that, doing pull downs, just recovery stuff between the 2 days that you were pitching. That was all new to me.
The process.
Yeah. And so just seeing that for the short time I was there was awesome. And then I took baseball off for a while, and baseball was kind of in the rearview mirror, and then until I got into complete athlete, and that was a way for me to get back into coaching and just now.
Did you remember the exact? Did we just have you come to some of the fall practices last year in 2021?
No, I was on before that. I did
you did some like privates here and there.
I did some privates here and there, like with you, to see how it was. But then when I really got into it, I would say it was probably fall ball last year, starting with coaching. Yeah. And that's where I really found a love for coaching and found out I was like, I'm kind of good at it and I like it. And then even now I'm back into competitive baseball. I'm playing amateur ball now, and so getting back into that.
Who do you play for?
St. Michael Saints. Holler at your boys. It's a lot, and like I got into like a men's league. It's amateur baseball, town ball. I was like, I don't think it'll be exactly just like a beer league, but I was not aware on how intense and how competitive that is. So getting back into that and just getting that competitive fire back has been a lot for me just in this last year. Last summer was my first summer back into it, and it was a great experience. Yeah. Now I know, and I'm back to just like when I was 18 or something like that, or 17. Now I know what I need to work on in the off season so that I'm ready for the next season, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that fire has really been brought back into me, and I think I bring a lot of that into my coaching too. And knowing things that I fell short on before college, now when I'm coaching and when we're doing training here, I can make sure those kids are not making the same mistakes that I did before getting into that college. Like, don't start looking at college or getting into the college game your senior year of high school. Like we talk about a lot of with our kids this fall. Like a lot of these kids were sophomore or JV. Like you want to be a varsity player? All right, well you got to start acting like a varsity player now. And then once you're on varsity, you have aspirations of being a college player. All right, when the college teams are coming to look at you, you better start acting like a college player now. We talked about that.
Not just in the game. Right?
Not just in the game, with how you carry yourself. Even when, like, if you're not playing, right? And even not, can you hit the ball well? Can you pitch? Can you throw? Can you run? Can you hit with power? It's little things. Are you hustling on and off the field? Are you hustling 90 on a ground ball? We talked about it with your coach, and when he was meeting with our national team, like, he could be a 5'2" athlete, and then if he sees you not hustling down for a 90, crossing your name off the list. It's a little thing like that. Knowing people are watching you all the time, and they're looking for any reason to write you off their list.
Absolutely. So. And kind of boiling it down, like, away from, like, obviously we talked about your journey, but then boiling it down to, like, the younger kids, like, how can you show your coach that you're that dedicated player to be put in that starting lineup every single day?
I think, very basic, very easily. Coaches, we're going to get there 20 minutes, 15 minutes, half hour before, right? If you're a kid that's showing up early and also a kid that's the last one there, if you want to, I've always told my guys, if you want me to stay an extra half hour, so I'm specialized in pitching, right? If you want to get a bullpen in because maybe we don't have time to get everybody in, and you can work it out with your catcher that he'll stay a little bit later too, I have no problem staying another half hour. And if you want to get that work in, that shows something to me as a coach. Like, all right, I'm going to have to write him in my lineup, right? It's going to be hard to keep him out of my lineup if he's willing to do that extra minute or stay that extra minute, extra 30 minutes, putting in that extra mile. Further away. See, I was worried about that. See, that's why.
Because he's a loud guy.
I'm a loud guy.
That's all good. Hey, a little bit of technical difficulties with the microphone.
Is this good?
Oh, Taylor's, our producer says it's good. Taylor Price, shout out.
Yeah. So this is good right now? All right, I won't make the same mistake.
Perfect. You're good, man.
Okay. But yeah. So yeah, but getting back, see, I'm always learning.
Yeah. Why did you decide to become a professional trainer with Complete Athlete? Trainer and coach.
Trainer and coach, yeah. Big thing I think is the mentality that, it was like you recruited me, like I was in the recruiting process all over, right? And having an interview and just being able to like watch you on the one-on-one trainings, seeing just how in depth we are, with not just like this is kind of a backtrack, but
no, that's all good.
Pitching, I think everything in baseball has like the literal techniques, right? But pitching, I think just the little tweaks can do a lot of things for you. And just seeing how in depth you were with those guys, and then also just getting to know the environment around Complete Athlete. A lot of us guys who are coaching and training either still playing ball, had experience in college ball or higher, like that's a competitive thing that I think that's very attractive if you're a parent around the area wanting to get your kid ready for high school ball and college ball. Get them in front and getting lessons with guys who have that experience is something that was really attractive. And just so the overall environment and just how we carried ourselves and how we the get after from our coaches, translates to those kids, and that was something I enjoyed.
What would you say you as a coach or trainer, what would you say your best qualities are, like that you do the best at to get the best out of your athletes?
I think if you want your kids to hustle and give every 110%, you got to do the same thing. So I carry myself. I try to, I think I'm very vocal, as we've talked about. If a kid makes a great play, I'm going to be the first guy out of that dugout, give him like, oh yeah, like let him know, right? I'm a player's coach. I'm not one of those coaches that are just going to like sit by, be very mellow, flatlined. Like I'm going to show the emotion, because I think if you show emotion, if you show how passionate you are, you get a lot of more passion, a lot of more energy out of your players as well.
I agree. And we saw that this fall with your team, out for a slow start, and then they just came back with a vengeance.
Mm-hmm. We knew the talent was there. We just had to get them to turn that corner.
Yep. So. Now they're playing with us this winter, and we're doing the exact same thing, continuing that process. Side note, I don't know if you knew this, Maddie has transitioned Grise into a...
Well, I was there last week when we were doing.
Oh yeah, you were there.
Because he has. I mean, we're talking about a lefty. Yeah. Some nasty lefties when Crick was here with pitching that he faced. Same lefty, tall kid, has some nasty movement, even just on the fastball, but then the breaking ball too. And he was already a 3/4 guy. Yeah. But now we're working on grips a little bit, and he naturally wants to drop down to almost that side.
We did live ABs the other night, and the first few at bats were a little rough, a few walks, but then he just started finding it.
That was him. That was him in the fall too.
The guys were exactly. That's what I'm telling you. Like certain guys, it takes some time to warm up, and like I don't know what it is. I think it's more mental at that point.
And he's a kid that has such a fluid motion, such an easy motion. Mm-hmm. Like he can go deep into games for you.
Go to your strengths. I think that's what I'm really surprised with Matty, like what he's figured out so quickly, like how to go to guys' strengths. Obviously, he's a sidewinder, so he wanted to.
Exactly.
But it was natural.
There was a little bit of bias in there, maybe a little too much influence. But if it's working for the kid, it's working for him. Yeah. And that's, speaking of Matty, like talking about what I learned from you and then when we were in the Driveline program, like, and Cricky talked about, the more you train, the more you learn about the sport rather than you're just a player.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so I learned a lot of more things about mechanics and technique that I didn't know, or I didn't have the privilege of being taught. So now we're teaching it with these kids, right? And I'm just learning. And now when I'm talking to Maddie, like I can teach you the mechanics with your legs, with your arm slot, everything like that, your follow through, just all the body mechanics, but the grip mechanics and just how like really like technique and really pinpoint
just
everything.
Just the slightest little, I mean, if you watch pro guys and how they set up their grips if they're doing a grip tutorial in an interview. Like they'll make the slightest change and say, I can make it move this amount.
6 more inches, something like that. Yeah.
Just by this switch. And when I want to make it move a different way, like I just slight change and it moves,
So bringing that aspect in for our pitchers and just being that little critique with something so small as how you're gripping in your arm slot and your arm movement through the zone and how like velocity changes that we've seen in some of the guys, the movement we've seen on the off speed is just crazy.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing I love coaching is like you're still learning. You're still learning. And so it's never a dull moment. It's not like you're just getting into a day-to-day like motion. Everything's always changing. Practice is going to be different.
Yep.
Games are going to be different. Even like in-game coaching situations, you're going to learn, right? And that's going to make it more interesting, I think, for sure.
Where do you see yourself future-wise with Complete Athlete as we grow?
I think we kind of maybe have already seen the transition a little bit here, and that's just unfortunate because of my personal job and what I do. Is I've unfortunately haven't had enough time to be a lot of one-on-one training or group trainings, but maybe taking over as one of those leading coaches for our, if we do a summer ball team, a fall ball team, and now we're doing our winter team, just being one of those coaches that are there. Like, I think, I can help a lot of our coaches when they're transitioning from the training, but actually to coaching, just teaching them the coaching strategy and making like adapting to a situation and in game, like right on the spot. It's a lot of quick thinking. It's a lot of strategy. You're kind of playing a chess game with that other coaching aspect. It's a lot of fun. You got to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of that guy. So that's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. The managerial part of coaching is definitely different than being in a one-on-one setting. I think Cricky found that out this year a little bit.
Watching Cricky coach versus Cricky train is just a complete night and day. Watch it, like he would make me nervous. I'm like, I almost had to like stick him on a bucket. I'm like, you got to stay to that bucket or else he's pacing up and down the dugout, which gets the kids nervous. And talking about, when you're going to be very vocal, when you're very passionate, that feeds off the kids. If you're going to be so nervous, if you're really intense, anxiety, anxious, that as well also feeds on the kids too. So it's important to how you carry yourself.
You're the leader.
As a coach.
Leader, and they follow. Sometimes you wish you didn't have to lead as much, but in general, like if you have a guy on the team, let them lead a little bit. But then when something is not going right, like you gotta step in and make it happen and get the kids to back on
talking
track.
About my fall team, like to get them over that hump, it was a lot of us coaches like lighting a fire under their butt, trying to get them to be more vocal. And then once we became more successful, I'd do the breakdowns and everything. And then after I'm like, I had Colton.
Man, that's allowed.
I had Colton be like, no, coach, we got it. And so then I had to. Now I was no longer breaking it down. It was one of the other guys, and so I love seeing them step up like that.
Yeah.
Right. So to your point, where you let some of those vocal kids on the team lead as well, like that's kind of nice. Like understand that you can't micromanage anything as a coach. I think a micromanaging coach can be almost as bad as a coach that doesn't step in enough. Right, you can micromanage, and that alone can make a kid's success, like, or reflect on a kid's success. Whether he's in a drought, you got to know how to talk to him. Worse, when he's successful, when he's in a drought, what is it going to take to get that kid out of the drought? Right, you don't want to micromanage, or else he's going to feel more intense, and that could just make the drought even worse.
Yeah,
which is interesting. So
those
are some of the things that I've learned a lot this year. I think for fall ball.
And you're what? Only 22?
I'm 22. Yeah, 20.
What the heck, JC?
Gonna be 23 here in December.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
December what?
December 10th when we're in Vegas for our tournament.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I was talking to Jeremy about that yesterday, and he's like, yeah, we need to get out on a golf round and all that stuff.
I'll bring my clubs. I'll swing the sticks for sure.
Totally. Who do you look up to and why?
Who do I look up to and why? I think I look up to my older brother, Ryan. Just growing up, it was easy. He was about 5 years older than us. And say, like, when we were playing sports in the backyard and stuff, sports aspect, it was really easy to just look up to him, seeing where I want to be in 5 years or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then when I got to that point where he was as a high school player, when I was actually, not to my own horn, I became a better athlete than him and stuff. But as far as like a professional athlete and stuff, I always looked up to Justin Morneau. I mimicked, like when I was still hitting and stuff, I would mimic my swing after him. He had the very kind of, he was a slight knee bend, shoulders leaned a little bit. Bat was just like, he literally just picked it up off his shoulders. It was very simple. And then when he swung, he had that left he was a lefty, so it'd been his right foot. When he kind of swung through, he had that. It was kind of like up on his heel. He kind of showed his cleats to the pitcher. I'd try to mimic my swing after that all the time too.
Were you a lefty or righty?
I was a righty, but I was still trying to mimic my swing after a lefty.
Just like the lefty.
That lefty swing is so sweet, man. As a righty, you're jealous and you want to mimic it. So
yeah.
And then pitching wise, Joe Nathan, man, was he a dog?
Oh yeah. Was
he a dog? And he just had that tenacity that I loved to watch because he was a closer. You got to have that. So when I was on the mound, I'm a very nice guy, but when I'm on the mound, I'm better than you, and I'm going to prove it to you right now.
That's the mentality that every single kid needs to have when they step on. That's the first.
We got too many nice kids. We got a lot of nice kids. We got to find a little dog, a little mean in them, when they're competing.
Yeah.
So
well, because that's the only way. Like it's almost like your mentality is facing off against that hitter. It's not your skill versus their skill. It's your mentality to beat them in that at bat. Mm-hmm. That's all it is.
And when since I was fortunate to be on varsity for so long, for 3 years, I recognized a lot of the guys from year after year, and
probably saw some dogs.
Yeah, and I grew up, and when I competed against some kids from Andover, and then I recognized when we're playing varsity, I'm like, all right, I kind of remember his tendencies a little bit, and then you build a game plan after that. So, not exactly your best plan like you get when you're pitcher catcher duo in the major leagues and the scouting reports that you guys have. But you can develop your little scouting reports when you play a guy after, especially
especially what they're doing in the World Series right now.
Oh yeah.
Like they're like every single time through the order, they're definitely their game plan.
Talk about making adjustments. Look, like as a hitter, like Kirky was talking about making adjustments. How about the adjustments between like the first couple times they'll line up against Justin Verlander, and then when they finally popped it loose.
Yeah, 5-0 Houston. I totally thought that was...
I saw a weird stat today that if Madison Bumgarner gave up 23 runs without getting an out, he would still have a lower ERA than Justin Verlander in the World Series.
It's crazy. I don't know how that happens. I mean, Verlander's amazing.
I mean, Verlander is amazing, but it's just when you get to that World Series and it's best versus best, it's just crazy.
Exactly. No, it is crazy. I think we already know this question. We know you're an extrovert, so I'm not even going to ask.
Yeah, I'm very much extroverted. I'll let you know how it is. I can talk your ear off as we get on the rambles here. You can know.
Yo, what would you say your favorite training tool to use with the players?
Favorite training tool.
I know you haven't done lessons since like last March.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of training. One thing that I saw when I was just in fall ball, like at St. Thomas for a year, I saw my velocity on my fastball go up like 5 miles an hour. Now, at that age, for that small of an improvement, for that small of an improvement period, seeing 5 miles an hour was crazy. And I think a lot of that was due to driveline and using weighted balls. Now, at this age, and we've talked about this, using weighted balls properly is very important because it could be very great for you or it could be very tragic and like ruin an arm.
Form is huge.
So I love using those weighted balls when we're going through, we're dialing down the technique just like little by little.
Minuscule. Get that whip. Make sure you're not using too much high weighted balls far away from your body.
Right.
Getting into that arm slot, timing up your front leg.
So getting that
leg.
I love the weighted balls, but I want to let people know, like if you're solely going to train and improve on weighted balls, not the way to go.
No,
not the way to go. There's a lot more.
Yeah, you're trying to fit the arm patterning. I think that's what Maddie's doing with Braden Grisey. It's like getting the arm patterning to link up with your lower half. And that's the whole point of them. It's not just let's chuck them into the wall willy-nilly. Like have a target in mind. Make sure you're working on something that your coach has told you during that week or something.
I think a perfect example that we talked about earlier is like us being as coaches being able to learn and like train ourselves to be better coaches.
Yeah.
I think we saw that a little bit last winter where guys were just, going through the motions a little bit too much through those weighted balls because it is a very routine, every 2 weeks is about the same until it changes. Be careful to not just fall into that routine because unintentionally you could like almost ruin your mechanics in some ways. Right. So be careful. Like though the weighted balls are a great great tool to get better. Be careful you're still doing the other things right. So.
Yeah, exactly. Mechanics wise. What do you think the baseball world will look like in the next 10 years? Like professionally, youth level, like, I don't know.
I think we've talked about this and I think it's really interesting. I was actually just talking about this today with some some coaches that I saw. I was actually at Spring Lake Park's section football game. They had a nice win against Irondale today.
Did they?
Yeah, 28-7. So they'll be in the section final next week.
Against who?
It was either Rogers or Monticello, and I think Rogers was winning at the time. So I think they're playing Rogers. Yeah,
okay.
Which is unique. Obviously, sections have changed since we've been in high school.
I was just
We're playing Rogers,
yeah,
right?
it's like what?
And so shout out to Coach John Stewart and the boys. Hopefully, we can get it done next weekend and move on to state. You want to talk about a program that has great tradition and gets their players to play for them and just brings out a different level of players. Spring Lake Park football, and that's what I'd love to see out of our program. Being biased, being from Spring Lake Park, it's something I'd love to see change in the baseball program, and just developing an environment and just a mentality of just bringing that to the next level. They've been doing a great job over there. But sidetrack there, sorry. But what I was talking to a lot of them, I think in 10 years, high school baseball, as we know, might not be the same because a lot of these players are getting into the club, whether it be spring club, summer club, fall club, winter club, right? And I think that's
why do you think that is?
I think, you don't get as much time as a coaching staff as a high school coaching staff with your players, right? You only get that certain window, and there's a large window throughout the year where you're not allowed to be in front of your players. Where a program like Complete Athlete, we can be with our kids all year round and train and develop them and get them better, rather than just a 3-month period. We have 12 months to work with them, right? And another thing from the game aspect, if we're going to these competitive tournaments, right, coaches will be there because they can look at, 20, 30 kids at once rather than having to go to a high school baseball game and only looking at one, maybe two, right? So that's more efficient for them. And
are you talking about college coaches?
Yeah, college coaches looking at the high school players. Yeah, I forgot to state that. My bad.
That's all good.
And really, you have to be something special in the spring ball for a coach to come out and look at you. You really have to be like a top dog for a coach wanting to come and watch your game in the spring. But like I said, if you're in these fall tournaments, these winter tournaments, even summer ball tournaments where you're playing against top talent and they can look at multiple players rather than just one or two, I think that's more attractive for them. So getting those kids into those club environment, getting those club tournaments, getting them in front of coaches earlier and more frequently is why I think, spring baseball, high school baseball has kind of been taking it down, which is sad to see personally, because I think from a high school standpoint, playing with the kids that you grew up with, whether it be any sport, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, volleyball, whatever, it's something special. I think you get a unique bond with those guys growing up. And now when you're going to clubs, you might be playing with kids from different cities and stuff that you might not have a unique bond. And I think those bonds will be unique in their own way. But seeing that kind of die off is a little bit biased me, is kind of sad. But
yeah, tradition.
It's tradition. Yeah, just like everything. Like everything's always changed. You gotta be willing to adapt and change to the environment and how things are going. So
I get what you're saying there. Off the cuff, what's your favorite Halloween candy, since we're right around Halloween?
Dude, I am a big fan of Three Musketeers.
Three Musketeers?
Yeah.
Just the ooey gooey goodness.
Well, see, it's not even ooey gooey. It's more like fluffy.
Oh, it just like
light.
melts in your mouth.
It's good stuff.
Yeah,
I do like Three Musketeers. Is the way to go.
I'm more of a Baby Ruth guy, 100 gram.
Baby Ruth.
I like the caramel.
Okay.
I don't know
Almond
why.
Joy. Can we agree that it's the worst?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Almond Joy.
There's no joy in it.
There's not a lot. Why do I want to eat something that has like coconut and almond that are, I guess you can kind of look as healthy. Like when I'm eating my candy from Halloween, and I got my, we were talking about this earlier, this pillow sack full while I'm gaming, as a 12-year-old, like I don't want to eat almonds.
It's just so funny that the age that kids age out of like the trick or treating stuff. So like Monday we have sessions on Halloween.
I'm telling you, you should. I know it's a big tournament coming up next weekend, but I think a fun thing would be, hey guys, wear a costume at practice. Talking about building an environment and a fun environment, that might be one way to do it. Unique. I'm just thinking outside the box here on the fly.
I appreciate it. I might make a change. We'll see.
Hey, it's up to you.
I'll send out the communication maybe to one of the team leaders or something. We'll see what happens.
Right.
I'm not gonna post in the parent group chat like, hey guys, like, hey, make sure your kid wears their costume tonight. They're like, what are we paying for?
Oh yeah.
I'm just kidding. But
now,
seriously,
have you now that's not like just creative. Like I've seen a lot of like high school or college teams do that when they're doing fall ball.
I mean, they can't have like capes or anything on because then that's gonna get.
No, you gotta be simplistic. Yeah, it's kind of be simple, but you can still be creative with it. Yeah. Now, if you were gonna do that, what would be your costume? Ooh,
wow, you're interviewing me now.
Sorry about it.
I hate
turning the tables.
It sucks, but I hate costumes. I think when I was a kid, I was a firefighter for like 5 years when I was like 5 to 10 years old, just because I had no creativity.
I think I was Jared Allen like 3 years in a row because
Yeah,
I had my football pads and everything.
You got your jersey,
and I
you're
would just
good to
pull
go.
on a Jared Allen jersey, and it was simple.
That's
Didn't have to go out
easy.
and buy
You don't
anything.
need to do anything. You got the jersey, you're a sports guy. Like that's kind of how I was. So costume, yeah. I mean, I was.
You pulled off a good
I
squints.
was squints today. I shaved and I literally, I had the glasses and everything.
I was squints. What would it be like 3 years ago now?
Okay.
For Halloween, that was when life was fun and before COVID. It was the Halloween before COVID actually. Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that was squints. You know, I mean, you love baseball.
Love baseball. It was great seeing kids today at that little promotional event.
I bet.
Just like recognizing the Sandlot, and then the parents. The parents were all in their nostalgia, so it was great.
Well, that movie probably came out when they were like young, or maybe even prior to their time. When did that movie come out? Can we get that? Can we get a check on that?
Can we get that?
Can we get a check on when the Sandlot movie came out?
Yeah.
I want to say like 70s.
I don't know. Well, there was like
80s?
a Sandlot 2 remake, which obviously wasn't as good.
Never
was
is
in
a
the
remake.
2000s.
You know the movie, The Christmas.
93, a year before I was born.
So yeah, you know the parents were probably like teens and stuff like that. It's nostalgic for them.
Oh, they were like
93.
10, yeah.
I definitely thought it was like a 70s or 80s movie.
April 7th, 1993.
Maybe it was set.
Thanks.
Maybe it was
April.
set. Maybe it was set in a later period. Because just the whole vibe of that
you mean
movie
like
seems.
earlier period? Yeah.
Come on now, see, I knew it was something about 60s and 70s.
It's set in 1960.
You what? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a sidetrack, but I just heard this. You know the movie like The Christmas Story. You know Ralphie and everything.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. And you know TBS plays it 24 hours. You know, they're remaking that,
Oh no. Oh, so
and I'm scared. Thank you. I'm scared.
The original is the only one.
Ralphie is gonna be like the dad in this one or something like that. I think.
all movies are being like remade, and all songs are being remade now. It's like kind of like there's no creativity.
Yeah, they're just
replaying
Hollywood's trying to
stories.
milk some money out of things.
Yeah,
You know,
we're not falling for it.
No, or like they're doing all the live actions. You know, they're taking all the old Disney movies and making them live action, like Lion King, Aladdin,
What?
stuff like that.
See, they're like I just said, they're remaking everything.
Yeah, just trying to get money where they can.
I mean, I'll watch the baseball ones they remake.
Oh yeah, why not? Can I throw a curveball? Another curveball question at you?
Okay.
Favorite baseball movie?
Favorite baseball movie, probably. Well, The Sandlot
That's a great one.
or The Rookie.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
The Rookie.
Rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year. I was gonna say with oh god, what's his name?
Dennis Quaid
No, Dennis Quaid is the rookie.
Sorry.
Rookie of the year.
What's his name?
No, the kid who's
Yeah, I know the
the
kid.
Cubs.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I
the
don't know
Cubs.
his name.
Yeah. Henry Rowan Gardner.
Rowan Gardner.
Don't ask me where I pulled that one out.
Hey kids, if you haven't watched any of these movies we're
Watch
mentioning, you gotta watch them.
Yeah, you gotta
especially
watch.
if you love baseball.
Because I'm a Twins fan, Little Big League.
Little Big League.
That's another 1993 movie, Rookie of the year.
Wow, they
There's
must have
a lot
really
of
liked
great-
baseball then.
Must have been a big
And
thing.
then the Twins were big then because they won 87 and 91. So they're like, okay.
Yeah.
Thomas Ian Nicholas, and Gary Busey. That was
Gary Busey, yeah. Gary Busey.
the Rocket.
The Rocket, the old washed up pitcher kind of thing.
That was the movie, The Rocket.
Well, no, so
Oh,
Chet Stedman. That was Rookie of the Year, the Cubs
oh
kid.
yeah.
He was kind of no, but Little Big League, you know, tragic. You know, his grandpa passed away, but then he becomes the owner of the Minnesota Twins, and he becomes the.
Yep.
That's how I envision myself. Maybe I'll be like the youngest. Maybe I'll move up in the ranks and be like the youngest major league.
We'll see
manager.
we'll see if
I got a
they're,
lot to
they're
go.
playing
I got-
Moneyball still then.
I got a lot to go. I wonder why though. 93. That's a lot of baseball movies.
Yeah, I don't know.
The Royd era, really
Well,
big,
it was
really big on baseball.
Right before the Royd era, but
It was before my time. I don't know exactly when
the
the
Royd era was
was
like 98, 99, 2000.
Also, just I was
2001.
being born and all that.
93 was
McGuire, Sosa.
93 was one of the.
Okay.
My buddy Matt would know that too. He's like a movie genius. He knows every little thing about that.
I have
You
a
could, like,
buddy-
name a
I have a
movie.
buddy like that too with all the comic movies and like all the
Oh, yeah.
Marvel movies. It's
Oh,
like-
yeah.
If both of you asked me my favorite movie, you wouldn't be able to guess. It is a movie, not a sport.
Well, don't make
Okay.
us guess it. We got time.
Yeah.
So what is it?
Tombstone.
Oh, I love Tombstone.
That's a movie. From
I don't think I've ever seen it.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
Exactly.
Come on now. Say when.
Goodness.
I love that movie. Me and my buddy love that movie. You ain't no Daisy. Nope. I got an idea, Ike. How about a spelling contest? I could go on about that movie. I love that movie. It's a great movie.
So, John.
Yeah, let's get back on track here.
We could probably. Well, actually, I do have one.
I got 5 minutes.
You got 5 minutes. All right,
okay.
We'll buckle it up
last question here, and then we'll let listeners know where they can find you online.
Yeah, but, for sure.
What would you say your biggest accomplishment as a baseball player or coach has been? Sorry.
Biggest accomplishment.
As a player or coach?
One thing I really took pride in is senior year, I was captain of my baseball team, which, again, going back to you're growing up with these kids, you're playing from T-ball up, and it was a player's choice, and they chose me to be their captain of their team. Senior year, I think that was it said a lot to my buddies, and that they trust me with being that leadership aspect. You know, the year before we were coming off a really tough spring season, and then that summer before my senior year, we had an amazing Legion team. It was like one of the first times that I went into every time we showed up at the baseball field, I knew we were beating that team. They had no chance. It was our game to lose type thing.
Yeah.
And
that
so after that,
is huge.
And bringing that into that following spring, like we were really high and everything, and we knew we were going to have some young players coming in. There wasn't a lot of returning seniors and stuff like that, other than some of those guys who have played multiple times on varsity. Having them choose me as a captain was something that was very very special to me, for sure.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you can tell that from the way that you coach now. Like moments like that have probably driven you to where you're at right now in your career during the day, and then obviously complete athlete stuff during certain seasons.
Oh yeah. I just love baseball. I love everything about it. They say you can't make one thing your lifestyle, but I think I bring baseball and what I've learned from baseball in every aspect of my life, for sure.
Absolutely. Where can the listeners find you online?
Instagram, I think it's John_Carlson27.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, John_Carlson27. It used to be, talking about JC for MVP, it used to be JC for MVP. You want to know how that changed?
You grew out of it, man.
You want to know how that changed?
How did that change?
My senior year, I pitched a complete game. It was a good game.
Yeah.
And our athletic director was going to shout me out on Twitter, and it was JC for MVP. And so he texts me because he has our number for captains and stuff like that. He goes, "Do you really want me to tweet at JC for MVP?"
Yeah, you told me that actually.
And I was like, yeah, it's the buddies. That's how the buddies know me. It's kind of fun. It's how everybody knows me. He goes, "I think it's a little unprofessional. So can you change it, please, before I tweet?" So I did. I sold out.
Oh man!
I sold out and I changed it. And
JC for MVP.
I know, from Twitter. So Twitter and Instagram are both John_Carlson27.
All right, sweet.
We'll get that confirmed, but I'm pretty sure
we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, John.
I appreciate it, man.
This was awesome. We'll definitely have you back.
Yeah, I don't think we got through all the questions.
We didn't, and we definitely can talk about a lot more things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I could talk baseball forever.
Exactly.
So appreciate you having me, and I look forward to the next time, and I look forward to what CA's got going on this winter and moving forward. It'll be interesting to see what we see. And we talked about how crazy it's been just in the 2 years that I've been. It's crazy what's going to see in the next 2 years. So I'm excited.
100%. Have a good one.
Appreciate it.